Welcome, ladies, gents, and otherwise amazing people, to another episode of the Coolest Guys You Know podcast. I'm the guy with the beard and glasses, Alex Bagley, and alongside me, as always, is the guy with the mustache, Jack Hefflinger. Jack, what are we doing today?
Well, today we have a special challenge for each other. We are going to be writing a screenplay in 48 hours. And if one of us doesn't finish, we owe the other one our paycheck.
One of us doesn't finish.
Yes, if one of us doesn't finish, we owe that other person our paycheck.
Whole paycheck. So we better finish.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to be homeless, I guess. I don't know. It'll be crazy.
Yeah. Embarrassed and homeless.
Embarrassed and homeless.
Well, this is awkward.
And so we are going to be pulling out kind of the elements of our screenplay.
Yeah, to get started.
Yeah.
Give us a basic structure going into things.
So should we start pulling?
Yeah.
Pulling
we're going to start off with
things for each other?
Yeah. We're going to start off with narrative structure. So we have three different kinds. There's the linear structure, which is your typical, follow through the sequence of events in the order that they happen. So we're going to throw that in here. We have non-linear, which is just anything but linear.
Whoa.
And then we have viewpoint.
What is this full job? Sorry.
Then we have viewpoint, which is specifically from the eyes of the main character or the protagonist. It's through their eyes that you view the story. So those are the three structures we're going with. We're going to each pull one. For this one, we're going to leave all three in there for each pull. Both of us could have the same exact narrative. The rest, we will take whatever we pull out for the next person. You want to go first, Jack?
I will go first. Oh, boy. Alrighty.
Making a real spectacle out of that empty bowl. Did you silence me?
I just turned it. That was a little loud for me. It was a little too much. Viewpoint. God. Alrighty. Yay.
He gets right Oppenheimer.
I mean, I do like how.
Okay. Go ahead, throw it in there. What is this full job? Jeez.
Hey. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Let me fix this, Jack. Jeez. All right.
Made a real spectacle out of empty bowl.
Yeah. I got non-linear.
We both got
anything but the normal
stuff.
Yep. Honestly, non-linear is actually probably better than linear. I got a pretty easy pull there. All right. Next, we're going to be doing our plot structure, which is just going to be the basic story premise for the way that it's going to follow structure-wise. The first one we have is tragedy. The second one we have is rebirth. The third one will be comedy. The fourth is voyage and return. The fifth is rags to riches. The sixth is the quest. And the seventh is overcoming the monster. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
I'll go first again.
All right. There's a lot in there.
There's a lot in here.
Yeah, so full.
Voyage and return.
All right.
Oh my God, we're doing a boat.
I cannot wait to read your screenplay. All right.
Yay.
So, got non-linear. What's going to be my plot structure?
Also, I've never written a screenplay before. You have written a few.
I've written parts, but I've never finished.
Okay.
I've got pretty easy overcoming the monster.
Okay. Well, you got some good ones
Typical
there.
Stuff there. Some examples of stories for each of those plot structures. For overcoming the monster, we have Star Wars, James Bond, Jaws, Harry Potter, stuff like that. For Voyage and Return, some examples are The Odyssey, Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Lion King, Back to the Future, Gone with the Wind, Peter Pan, lot to work with there. So moving on to the next one.
Alrighty, on to our genre.
Elements. For this one, we have thriller.
Like the song?
Yes, like you ought to write a screenplay about Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Ooh.
We have drama. We have mystery, horror, romance, action, fantasy, war, noir, sci-fi, and western.
Ooh.
So there's a lot here for this
There's
one.
a lot here.
The suspense.
What will it be?
Let's see how much weirder yours gets.
Sci-fi.
Oh, you wanted that one.
Oh, I really wanted
yes,
that one.
sci-fi is so up your alley.
Oh boy.
All right. For
Fuck
me,
me.
I've got mystery.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. This is not at all what I thought our lineups are going to look like.
No. Nope.
All right, so let's get all these out of here. And now for the fourth part of this, it's just a special element, a little twist on the story that we'll have to include at some point. So the first one we have here is space. I bet you're hoping that you get that
I
one.
really hope I get. Please give me space.
Or you could get this one, time travel. That's another sci-fi element there.
Right.
We have dream sequence. It must include a dream sequence. Magic. It just has to include magic of any kind. We have major plot twist. Someone dies. It has an ensemble cast. The
You might
end-
want that one.
Yes. You'd be really screwed if you got ensemble cast.
yeah.
And we have antagonist wins in the end. And then one location. I don't think you want one location with your what you have, but it's
don't
kind of hard to
know.
have a voyage and return from one location. But
But what if I'm just in the ship the whole time and they're just like, look at that planet, as they just kind of pass it?
go ahead and pull your special element there.
I pulled two. Antagonist wins.
You've got the weirdest combination
Oh
there.
my god.
Okay. I got major plot twist. God dang it. The one that I didn't want.
What do you mean that works so well with a mystery?
That is true, actually. I didn't think about that. No, that actually lends itself very well.
Yeah.
All right. So finishing up here, we're going to go over what each of us got. Jack, for his narrative structure, has viewpoint. For his plot structure, is voyage and return.
That's the only thing that I wanted out of all of this.
His genre, to his delight, is sci-fi. His special element then is the antagonist wins in the end.
I am so screwed.
So for me, my narrative structure is nonlinear. My plot is overcoming the monster. My genre is mystery. And my special element is a major plot twist. You know, it's kind of funny, but nonlinear also works really well with a mystery because I can do
my
flashbacks
God.
and withhold things. Yeah, this actually turned out very well for me.
Really did. Good for you.
So it's just going to be a first draft, obviously. 48 hours is a very quick time to create a screenplay. I wouldn't expect us to be pulling out some Academy Award
polished,
winners, but we're going to go over this in the end. Some of the qualifications. No.
Like what is it?
I was some of our ways of judging things, the different ways we're going to judge things. The very first one, of course, is it finished? And like we said, if it's not finished, we owe the other person our paycheck if we do not finish our screenplay. After that, we'll look at how well it meets the different criteria we just went through, the narrative structure, plot structure, the genre, the special elements. And then, of course, how good is it? Is it actually a good screenplay, or did we just meet the bare minimum?
Mine is going to be, I think, bare minimum.
And then, I mean, Academy Award. We gonna win an Oscar here?
I want. Maybe mine actually is going to be really good.
Oh, okay. You got the gears turning up there. You got something going on.
Yeah. I think I could get an Academy Award this year.
All right. So yeah, the way this one's gonna work is, we're recording the intro now, and from here we're gonna slice in an intercut of us going through the next 48 hours. Well, not the next 48 hours, but our 48 hours when we start of trying to write the screenplay. We'll record on our own, and yeah, should be fun.
Meet back up afterwards and see how well we did.
I expect Jack to be crying when I see him next.
I won't be crying then, but they'll see the intercut of me crying, I think.
Oh yeah.
I'll have composed myself.
You'll compose yourself, but I'll get to see it in the edit.
Yes.
How much you fell apart in the midst. All right. So yeah, we'll see you on the flip side of all that.
I'm so screwed, man. Oh my God.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gents. It has been a few days since we started the challenge, and quite a few days since we recorded the intro. And boy, was this a doozy, Jack. 48 hours.
This was tough.
Yeah. So we're just going to kind of talk about the experience of what we undertook, the challenges and all of that. And it was some fun stuff.
It really was. Sometimes.
It's better in hindsight.
Much.
It's very much like, now that it's done, thank God.
Yeah.
But, good memories.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, hell, we almost pushed out, like, you almost pushed out, like, a full screenplay in 48 hours.
Combined, we had a full
screenplay.
In 48 hours. So
impressive.
Yes,
truly.
Very. The process was interesting. I had both days off. You did not.
Yeah. Well, going to work, helped me kind of get away and formulate a few ideas to kind of really, narrow it down to what it was. But it didn't help. But,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't have finished even if I had all that time to write. So,
that confidence just really quickly evaporated.
Boy, my confidence is going to be the death of me, I think.
The beginning of that, the challenge, I texted Jack like 4-ish, 5-ish, or it would have been after 5 because you were at work.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I got 10 pages done before I went to work. I think this is going to be pretty fine. Me, meanwhile, I didn't start until about 1:30 because, we started the challenge at midnight. Neither one of us started writing at midnight.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm going to get a full night's rest. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go do my whole morning routine. I'm going to go for a walk, get nice and chill, ease into things. I made some tea. It's feeling real nice. And then I started writing. Got about 16 pages done in about 6 pages in about an hour and a half.
Which is pretty good. That was not bad pace.
Yeah, and then I think by the time I messaged you a little after 5, I had 16 pages. So you telling me I got 10 pages done before I came into work, and I'm like, well, Jack wakes up late. So he got that done in like a few hours at most.
Yeah.
Kind of hurt me. And
if only you knew the struggle the next day.
I think it's funny too because you were like, "Wait, am I the better screenwriter?"
I was like, "Oh my God, like, it's better than Alex." I've never done this before.
I was like, "Nope, I need to trust the process. Don't let it get to you." And then no, the whole time I was like, "This guy is probably flying through his screenplay. I'm sitting here taking forever." So I was like pushing it.
But I mean, that pushed you to write some very interesting content.
Yeah, mine got real interesting. The first day I woke up at 1:30. Started writing. Like I said, I got about 6 pages done in an hour and a half. 16 by like 5 or about 6 o'clock, I'd say. That was when I hit like the first 6 pages. I hit a wall, and then I went for a walk after that because I had gone very quick. Pacing wise, things developed very quickly, and I was like, "Oof, not gonna get 95 pages out of it at this rate." So I went for a walk to kind of clear my head. I had the whole thing where I was like, okay, you know what? I just need to give it some structure. We'll get it going. If I just get some structure, it doesn't have to be good. I can just fill out plot points for what a detective story needs, and I'll just follow those to a T. Easy enough, simple. I'll do that, have all the big plot points, and then just fill everything in. That's how I'm going to get the 95 pages. And that is not at all what happened. I didn't stick to structure at all. Just developed it as I went at a whim.
Which works so much better, though. It worked so much better.
Again, it was painful, but I actually really enjoyed. I wouldn't do the 48 hours.
No,
but the restrictions really compressed my creativity in a way that I didn't before. And
I think if you did a week, that would be not bad.
Yeah, depending on the week.
Yeah.
I think it would still be a struggle with work, trying to balance. If we were aiming for 95, yeah, because clearly, we got a good chunk done in 48 hours.
Yeah. If you didn't have certain things to do on the second day,
Monday,
you would have finished.
Yeah. Sunday night, I went to bed with 40 some pages. Man. And that was the whole day. Basically.
I was so confident when I got home from work. I was like, I'm just going to watch a little bit of Frasier. I'm not even going to write.
I was wondering.
Because I was like, I'm going to be able to finish this tomorrow. This is going to be easy.
I was wondering. I was like, man, when is Jack writing? Because he's not saying anything to me. And whenever I message him, he doesn't say where his page count is. He just says things are going well. And I'm like, man, this guy.
What prep work did you do?
Not much. I didn't want to do too much prep work because usually with my writing, I get too far in my head, too structured again.
Right.
I think I said in the video, I was like, I'm going for a more slow, natural, let it build approach. The only prep work I really did was took a look at a few screenplays. We had.
I wish I did that. I
recommended
wish I did
it.
That.
I recommended it, and you were like,
know.
"No, I'm all good." And I'm like, "All right, Jack."
I'm an idiot.
But I started with Parasite by Bong Joon-ho. Bong Joon-ho.
I think it's Ho.
Yeah, I think it's Ho. Read a little bit of that. I intended to read at least one or two screenplays. I ended up just reading snippets of each one, mainly because I wasn't quite sure where in the mystery genre I wanted to land. I wasn't sure I wanted to do a detective story. I didn't really end up doing too terrible much of a detective story. It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It kind of fits with the jumping around on the screenplays.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I started with Parasite. I looked at, I think the next one was then Brick by Ryan Johnson, which was his first feature film that he did. That was the one that I was intending to follow to a T, the plot structure and everything. I was like, I'd just do this. I did steal your idea for one location. It was in the mix. Neither one of us ended up drawing it. Yeah. I know that you were like, I think I'm still going to do a one location. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? One location would be pretty cool to do for a detective story. I was like, that works really well. Compress, give myself characters inside that environment. And just the one, I felt like that would do really well for the creativity of it, which it kind of ended up doing. So, and then, I had the little nugget of an idea because I figured at least get an idea of just a guy looking to see who ate his bagel, just investigating who ate his bagel. Simple enough. I was like, I get him in this environment, in this apartment building. He's got his goal. I fill it in with some characters, making kind of interesting characters, and go through the whole process. Simple enough.
Yeah.
And then I think the only other screenplay I ended up reading was actually on the second day in the morning. I woke up early for The Plumber, and I felt like I wanted to write, but I was like, man, that 95 pages is still looming over my head. I didn't get half done on the first day. I got close to half. But I did not get to half, so I was like, man, I really need to go quickly today. So I was kind of looking to see how I could fill in more because it felt like I was quick pacing, too thin on my writing. I was like, this just seems like I've compressed the screenplay too much, and if I just expand it, what I've written could fill a lot more pages. So I looked at the screenplay adaptation by Charlie Kaufman, just a little bit, just quick, and I kind of went back through and I added a little bit of a beginning before my original start point, and I filled out some of the setting details and descriptions, which is why they're very basic and boring in some regards, because I was like, I don't really know what the setting looks like. I'm kind of just flying with it. And then the second day, a lot of things clicked into place. Sunday night, I forgot to mention, Sunday night was when things got real crazy. Really changed how the screenplay went for me.
That's when the twist starts to, okay.
I had hit the wall on one scene that I told you about where it was like, this just completely goes in a different direction, gets super serious. I was also going for the comedic approach because I knew that this was going to be like not good to some extent. And I figured if I do comedy, it'll make it work because it's not good.
Right.
The comedy will feed into it, which did end up really helping having that comedic element. It let me go in some crazy directions in order to get the screenplay done while still making a little bit of sense. And then, I twisted that scene around, made it more comedic. That took me in a direction to at least get some writing out. And then, I got my second cup of caffeinated coffee, and I do not drink a lot of caffeine. I didn't really end up having that much. I checked how much was in the coffee. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that much compared to what a person could normally take in a day.
Okay.
But
probably like more than you would normally take.
It was much more than I would normally, considering I don't usually have caffeine and I had two caffeinated drinks. And the last one, the second one, was just a few hours before I ended up stopping to go to bed. So I was like in a fever dream. I was super tired, but I had caffeine pumping through my veins. And that was when the screenplay took a turn for a very strange direction. And then, the second day, I kind of fed off that. And all of a sudden, all these things that seemed like nothing, like they had no connection at all, just fell into line. And I was like, I know how this thing's going to go from here. And I, even though I had a lot to do that second day, which was another thing, doing all that stuff that second day, like dealing with the plumber, doing my laundry, taking my brother to do some errands, all that, I was just the entire time, I'm like, I need to get back to write. I just need to get through this. And I was writing throughout too. When the plumber was there, I was still working on things. The laundromat, I was still working on things.
Man.
And then, I tore through some pages that day. But by the time I texted you, I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe I could get it done, but no. As soon as I found out that you weren't that far along, I was like, we're good.
I mean, but not that. I mean, I was like a third, that's
how'd that process go for you?
Woke up on the first day after watching 2001: A Space Odyssey. And, I was like, you know what? We're just going to start writing. Viewpoint was really tough for me, but apparently I didn't do it right. Action items I put all in first person. And I also had a narrator.
Yeah.
Which could still be my protagonist, though. Because I'm not done.
Yes, because you did not finish the script.
Because you didn't finish either. Yep.
He said that's really at the.
Just had to make sure.
No,
I have to make sure.
Neither one of us finished.
Neither one of us finished. But I woke up. I pumped out 10 pages in maybe an hour and a half or something like that, or an hour. I was like, oh, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. This is gonna be the easiest challenge. I went to work. I talked it over with some people at work. I was like, oh, I've got a solid idea going here. Got home, you know what? Let me just watch some Frasier. Let me just chill. So then that way I can wake up refreshed the next day. And then...
Can I just say something real quick? It's so funny because I was thinking about this and I was like, I feel like when I was thinking about taking this slow approach, I was like, this is the tortoise and the hare. I was like, I know Jack's going to go in there at crazy pace, thinks he's killing it. And I'm just going to go slow, nice and easy. And you're just exactly like the hare. You're like, I got time to chill and let this go.
Listen, I thought it was gonna be so easy, and then I woke up later than I would have wanted to on the next day. I woke up at 12.
That was me on the first day.
Yeah, and then so I start writing. It was a lot harder that next day to like get the ideas into like scenes and like things that would actually happen. And yeah, it kind of screwed. I so wish I read a screenplay before I started. Yeah. That was my main downfall, I think.
Even if you had read one, you would have been at a disadvantage, because even though I've never finished a screenplay, like I've written a lot of screenplay scenes and stuff before. So like I was familiar with that. I'm a writer as well, like just in general. So like I like the whole process, of course, is like easier coming to me.
Yeah.
Like you had to like learn the process while writing the screenplay. Like you were at such a disadvantage. That's why, like, it's not surprising.
But I had so much confidence.
It's not surprising where we ended up in page count. Like, I'm not trying to like harp on you, but it's so funny how confident you were about it.
Oh my God. It was just, I'm such an idiot sometimes. I really let my ego get the best of me.
I guess we could start talking about, was there anything else about the process that was like anything like particular? I know that your videos do a pretty good job. I think your videos are much better than mine are. You know,
thank you.
You have a lot more content and more, you're like actually going into detail, where mine's just like, here's the update, page count, time.
Because you were actually like really in the zone.
Yeah.
And I was here drawing a 20-minute storyboard in Microsoft Paint.
Oh yeah, like I think it just reflects like where we were at in the process so well.
Yes.
Like I was like so like focused on my writing. I'm like, I don't have time for these videos, man. Like this is just so secondary.
And I was like, oh, let's get some more videos going. Yes.
And your like videos are like high production value. Mine are just me at my cell phone. I'm just like, could not care about the videos. I was like, I've got 48 hours to write a screenplay. Who cares?
Oh man.
But yeah, let's I guess we could just dive into like the screenplays. We've both read the other screenplay.
Yeah.
We can kind of talk about what we like. Which one do we want to start with? What do you think?
Let's start with yours, because yours was very, actually, like I thought I was very funny, especially the beginning was hilarious.
Which I'm glad, because I feel like as long as I'm laughing while writing it, there's a good indication that it's probably funny for people reading it.
Yeah.
And
Billy is such like a Jack kind of character.
Yeah, Billy is the main, or at least starts out as the main character in mine. So kind of like the basic plot. Like I said, we start out with a guy searching for who ate his bagel, investigating. That's Billy. Billy is that guy. And he's in an apartment with three other guys. He's the fourth. And then one of the guys has a girlfriend, and that is the 5 characters for the screenplay. There ends up kind of being a 6th later on. But yeah, so Billy wakes up one day, he's feeling good, feeling confident, and then he goes to eat breakfast, and lo and behold, his bagel has been eaten. And so he starts interrogating all of his roommates, trying to figure out who the hell ate his bagel. And of course, he's being super serious about this, like over the top, and everybody is playing off of that. That's where the comedy really strives in the beginning, is Billy's just like knifing through everybody. Like they're all like, you're being an idiot, and he's like, no, somebody holding his ground, fucking bagel, and I'm gonna figure out who it is. And it's hilarious to start with, and then I started to run into some issues, because like detective stories kind of take a lot of detail work. You know, you gotta lay out the all of the clues, you have to set up motives and all that. Doing that in 48 hours is kind of difficult. So like Billy kind of flails in the investigation. Like because I didn't know where the heck to look. I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know who it was that ate the bagel. I just had these characters in this room. I had no idea what happened. And so like, excuse me. One of the first scenes that I had an issue with is he has all of the suspects on the couch, and he's interrogating them one by one, very confident and coolly. Yeah, I can see why Jack likes Billy. Billy is very much a Jack character.
Yes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
hey, it makes for a funny time.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you know, things take a turn. I go through some flashbacks worked so well for the humor too in mine. in the beginning, and then they end up becoming super integral for like serious parts and later in the screenplay.
And your screenplay itself was just funny. Like what you would write in the screenplay,
yeah.
directions and everything was very funny.
Again, I was like, it's supposed to be funny, so why not make like the whole thing funny? Like in the writing for the actions and the headings, even sometimes for scenes and all that. And I was like, yeah, let's just be funny, and that'll make everything funny. And yeah, I hit a wall where he's interrogating these suspects, and we go through a flashback scene, and it's very clearly like everybody thinks that the one guy did it. And honestly, it kind of feels like the one guy did it and should have done it. It's very obvious. And he gets up because he's so flustered and leaves because he gets into a heated argument with his girlfriend. And at that point, I'm like, this should be like second act, halfway through the second act type stuff.
Right.
I'm at like page 15, which is halfway through the first act. I was like, I just blew through all of my investigation part. Like he's interrogated everybody already, kind of gotten everybody's story. I'm like, how am I going to get 95 pages out of this? I really was like flustered. So I took a break, came back, and then kind of started having Billy move around because all the characters kind of dispersed after Dan, the one character, leaves. So Billy starts moving around, going one-on-one this time. He kind of does that in the beginning, but he really does that after they break up. And he's investigating the rooms and stuff, and we start getting some flashbacks to some of the past. While they were all together, Billy flashback to the night that the bagel was, the last time he saw his bagel, which was the night before. And he starts investigating and stuff, and slowly it started to flesh itself out a little bit more. Then I ran into another scene that hit me for a while where Dan and his girlfriend are in the bedroom, and, they're originally, it was a much more heated scene where they're just bickering and arguing because I knew I wanted to have like some tension in their relationship to kind of give me a side story that added some pages to the screenplay.
Right.
But it was like way too serious. I was like, this does not work at all in this screenplay. And that's about where I texted Jack to see where he was. And he's like, hey, I got 10 pages done before I went into work. And I'm like, Jesus, like everything is falling apart here. But went back into it and was reading over it. And I was like, you know what? I can twist this around and make it funny right here. I was like, it'd be really funny because the scene starts with like, you have a pair of panties on the ground. You're kissing and moaning sounds, and you think things are hot and heavy. And originally, it was supposed to be like Riley's trying to get it on with Dan, and Dan's like pushing off a whole bunch of serious stuff. But instead, I was like, what if Riley isn't actually doing anything sexual? She's just eating ice cream and really enjoying her ice cream, and it created a hilarious interaction between her and Dan.
Yes.
And opened the screenplay right back up because it got back into that comedic element while still having the undertone of seriousness. And from there, Billy continues with his investigation. Things are kind of rolling. It's got some funny gimmicks and lines and all that. Starts setting up some clues in some ways. Like, that's the thing is, like, since Billy doesn't really know what he's doing, or at least it seems like he doesn't really know what he's doing because I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, things that don't seem important at all are just kind of popping up. But then later on in the screenplay, they kind of start feeding back in. And I'm like, oh, man, that thing was huge. The screenplay really followed my process. And then the second big turning point that I mentioned with the hot tea was when Billy suddenly takes a turn.
This is your twist.
Yes. Because, again, I had a major twist. All this really fed into it.
Which with a mystery, you'd think it would be like, oh, it was really like this person or this thing happened. Yeah. Not quite with yours, though.
With a detective story.
Yes.
The mystery genre, honestly, it doesn't fit detective very well at some points, though it does kind of in some ways end up. But it very much is a mystery because I didn't have any fucking idea what was going on then, until all of a sudden I was just like, oh, that's where we're going with this. Yeah, Billy takes a turn. I decided to, because there's this scene he has with Riley, and like the way he's going, I felt like Billy did, which was like, where's this investigation going? Like, I've done all this investigating.
Right.
I've gone through all these clues and stuff. Like, you kind of hit a wall. And so he has this interaction with Riley, and he kind of has this turn all of a sudden just in his dialogue where he's getting a little snippy with her because, she's trying to, like, take down the walls and be like, Billy, what's going on? Like, why are you, Billy, why are you investigating this bagel so hard? What's going on? You're not feeling well. And she says, stupid bagel. And I think the same thing Billy does, which is, wait a minute. You know who else said stupid bagel? That Dan guy was saying the bagel is stupid a whole lot. And he was pretty suspicious. Boyfriend, girlfriend, like, these two are in cahoots. Like, these two are in it together. And, that Tim guy, he was also suspicious, too. The reason I'm having such a hard time with this, all three of these guys are in this together. This is it. This is what's going on. This is how things are going. And he just frantically runs out of the room. And Riley's just kind of, like, sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? And she just has this inclination, because it's the same inclination I have as a writer, which was like, wait a minute. What if Billy... What if Billy's possessed? What if he's possessed by a detective, the ghost of a detective? And that's where, like, things just open up again. Another big turn in the story. It opens up, again, why I was able to continue writing so many pages, is Billy just starts going on a rampage, starting with immediately after he exits the room. He runs out into the living room, grabs the butter knife, which, again, was another, like, clue that I didn't really think was a clue. It was just Billy trying to make a clue.
Right.
But then ends up becoming this huge item. And he takes this knife and just stabs Tim in the leg with it. Stabs him right in the leg, deep in. Tim starts bleeding profusely. And the screenplay is just all of a sudden an entirely different thing. It becomes a very, like, Evil Dead-esque time after that, where Billy is just... Again, Billy was fun to write in the beginning because he's so serious and taking the investigation serious. But then once the turn happens, he becomes a whole lot of fun to write for an entirely different reason, which was his absurd one-liners and just ramblings and actions.
Insanity.
Because he's so insane. Again, very much like Evil Dead with their demonic characters and that, where it's just like the most outrageous stuff. And then also at the same time, I started fleshing out a lot of the side characters and stuff. Like there's Frank, and then the aforementioned Dan. Riley becomes very important. I actually end up really liking Riley, and after Billy takes the turn, I think Riley very much becomes the protagonist of the story, the main character. And you start getting some flashbacks that are really pulling in the depth, that are giving it some depth. And yeah, that kind of fed into like getting through the story. And then that, again, another big turn was the second day at the laundromat, or no, in the shower in the morning. I just had this idea of, I don't remember what I was even thinking about. I think the thinking was like, no, Detective Ghost doesn't really work, considering he just becomes a loon.
Right.
That's stabbing and biting and fighting and all this. It's like, so what's really going on? How is he really possessed? And I was like, I had introduced this element with Dan after he got stabbed, where he had been attached to his phone the whole screenplay. And so after he gets stabbed, you finally see what has been taking up his attention on the phone. And it is an AI chatbot, specifically of the dating variety, and is very like kinky stuff that he's been doing with this chatbot.
Right.
And so I had this mulling over of like, how did Dan become possessed? And I'm like, boom, like, what if Tim, in his pursuit to make this AI chatbot a real life girl for him to have, summons a demon via the chatbot's instruction, and all of a sudden, because of that, like the clues started lining up of like, oh, that's why this happened. Because earlier in the screenplay, Billy eats leftover spaghetti. That was the last time he saw his bagel, was pulling out spaghetti. Dan and Riley had ice cream, and I was like, oh my goodness, what if Tim takes the opportunity to try and possess? Originally, the idea was to possess Riley through, and he was supposed to do it through the ice cream, but then the chatbot, with all that kinky stuff going on, sends him a little naughty pic, and he flubs the exchange and puts in the spaghetti instead. And then Billy, while eating his spaghetti, he's watching a detective story. He's watching The Big Sleep, very famous noir movie.
Right.
And, in order to fight this possession off, he becomes a detective, a hard-boiled detective, and he goes on this investigation to keep himself from going possessed. And then the reason he becomes possessed is because he hits a wall. He doesn't know where to go with this investigation. He has nothing left for defense. And and then Riley takes over as the main character and is kind of leading the investigation because in order to figure out what happened to Billy, Billy's pretty dead set on this bagel.
Right.
So there's only one place for her to figure out where to go, and that's picking up the bagel investigation.
Logically, of course.
Yeah, so things come back around, and we're back into the detective story. All of a sudden, it works. It works.
Oh, my God. It's so great. It's so great.
Yeah, and then we ended on a major character death.
Yes.
Frank, poor, sweet little Frank, who's not really that little.
No.
But
the bull.
The guy who just wanted to sleep. Just wanted to sleep the whole time.
He just wanted the big sleep.
Yeah. Oh.
Woo.
See? Layers. Yeah, and then that's where I ended things.
Yeah, you got real far.
Do you want to kind of talk about your opinions on mine, or do you move on?
Yeah, so, gosh, the twist as you start to read it and you're like, wait, what is happening? What is going on? And then he stabs Tim. And it comes out of nowhere. You're just like, what is happening right now? He goes completely nuts. He gives me that great line where it's like, the bagel thief just got cream cheesed or whatever. And you're just like, this is not the Billy that was just here. What's going on?
Billy.
Bring me my Billy back. And then when he goes possessed, it was just, I couldn't believe it. The more I read it, the more insane it got. And like the pentagram to summon the microscopic fetus. And it got so insane. But it worked so well because it was so funny. And all the characters were just so great. Oh my God.
Oh, I really loved all the characters.
Yes.
I think I've told you, like, Tim, I kind of think is like not the greatest person, but he's a great character to write and has some great motivations. But I'm just kind of like, I don't really like Tim. He's the only one. I like Dan. Dan grows on me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Frank immediately. Dude just wants to sleep.
Yeah, Frank's great.
Yeah. And then Riley really came in.
Yes.
And then Billy, of course, is great to write and is just a fun character all around. But yeah, any other opinions, or we want to move on to yours?
I don't know if I have a lot else here. I mean, you wrote a solid screenplay for the 48 hours.
Thanks. Do we want to? Should we talk about my ending first, or do we go over yours and then?
Yeah, talk about your. How are you gonna finish it from there?
Okay, so like I said, we end on a major character death. That was the point that I got where I texted Jack, and that is the death of Frank. Unfortunately, it was really tough to do, but it was the only thing that made logical sense at that point. In a illogical story, that was just kind of how things had fed up to that point. But yeah, it was supposed to kind of end with. Frank dies. Dan and Riley have just discovered Tim's room, which was another thing where it was just like, I realized I haven't been in Tim's room. Tim's room is the only room we haven't been in. And that's where the pentagram thing came up. And, Dan and Riley go into this room. They see this. They still don't quite know at the point where I finished the screenplay what exactly happened in Tim's room. They just know that, like, hey, Tim's involved in this somehow. This isn't just a Billy thing. And the plan was for them to... come out, of course, find Frank dead, which very sad.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And, I think the idea is that they find Tim's AI chatbot, Suki, who I think actually would have ended up being the wild card villain, the true mastermind manipulator of the story. Because she's the one pulling the strings on Tim. Tim's just naive, has no idea what's going on. But
Poor guy.
Suki knows exactly what she's doing when instructing this guy how to summon this demon. And I think she would have done the same thing to Dan Riley, who was clueless to Suki's whole role and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that would have made for an interesting dynamic. Of course, Billy would have kept coming into his own, would have kept developing as this demon. He was already starting to grow horns, and I was going to have those come out, have wings, his skin is turning red. There was a snake that was supposed to get loose at one point. Didn't really know what that snake was going to do, but I had set that up. And then eventually I was going to have Riley be the one to end things. You know, she was the one that took over as the protagonist. It only felt right.
Right.
She had used this bat earlier in the screenplay. Had gone to use the bat, ended up not needing to use the bat, but I had set it up, so I wanted that to come back around. Probably in pursuit of saving Dan. And then, you know, so somewhere along the lines, I think I would have wanted them to win. I don't think I would have wanted them to lose.
Because I think they would have had to, right? Because you had overcoming the monster.
True.
So they actually would have had to win.
Yes, I actually forgot about that plot point, but yes.
Which actually works pretty, somehow, even though you forgot about it, you developed this super monster who they...
I mean, overcoming the monster is a very basic plot.
I know. It could have been.
It's pretty typical. But yeah, they would have had to have won in the end, probably. And then as for the bagel investigation, you know, the bagel doesn't actually end up meaning too much. The reason Billy kind of attaches to it is just because of that memory of the spaghetti.
Right.
So like the bagel doesn't actually mean much. It just kind of fed into it. But yeah, in the end, it's the most obvious. It's Dan. Dan is the one that ate the bagel. And it doesn't mean anything. It has nothing to do with anything. Dan just carries the secret throughout the whole screenplay. And then the funny thing is that Tim, like when I was writing it and trying to think of like, who's the one that actually ate the bagel? I didn't want it to really be Frank because Frank didn't make a whole lot of sense. I genuinely believed Frank just wanted to sleep. Riley didn't make much sense. That's just not her character.
Yeah.
And then Dan made too much sense. Dan was like the most obvious character. And I was like, you know, Tim's kind of the wild card, but also like, that's kind of obvious too, that like this quiet guy who's not really given much.
Right.
Of course he's the one who's the one who ate it in the end. But it ended up working so well that Dan, the obvious one, has the one that ate the bagel.
Yes.
The most obvious storyline. The most obvious conclusion. It's the most obvious beginning. Like, Billy goes in investigating who ate his bagel. Dan ate his bagel.
Yeah. The one who denies everything.
Yeah.
And just,
You know, like, that is your typical plot structure right there. He finds out Dan ate... he goes in looking for who ate the bagel, finds out Dan did it. It's really obvious the whole time. Boom. And then you have the element of Tim and his subplot. Tim, the quiet one who you don't suspect at all, who all of a sudden has this major secret, has nothing to do with the bagel. I mean, that's the screenplay right there.
It's
the two merging of those two.
That somehow clashed so well and developed so good. We did have our criteria that we kind of wanted to, I guess, look at. So first off, I mean, was yours finished? No. But mine wasn't either. Yeah.
So we decided that we're not going to exchange paychecks because what's the point in that? We just both suck. So yeah, we didn't finish.
No. And then how well does yours meet all of the criteria that we had? I mean, very well. I mean, because yours worked so well. You had the nonlinear with the mystery and the twist with overcoming the monster. Like you had the perfect
I had
what
a very
mystery
easy
one
setup.
is.
I had a very easy setup. Not how I would have thought I was going to use those elements.
No,
but
that's not how I ever would have thought you would have used those elements.
But it worked.
Yeah. Is it good? I thought yours was actually really good.
I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know if it could ever be made into a movie, but I do honestly think that I will try to attempt to make it into a novella at some point because I really fell in love with the story and the characters, so I do kind of want to finish it out. But I'm glad that you agree that it was good. I'm glad it wasn't just me because the whole time I was writing, I was like, is this good or just crazy?
And then Academy Award.
Hey,
I think yours, as we will find out, is much more likely to receive an Academy Award than mine is.
All right, we want to switch over to yours?
Okay. Well, mine is called Trekking the Stars. It's not Star Trek.
No.
No.
Not at all.
I would never never rip off Star Trek like that. But we open, so I immediately had a mistake with the viewpoint. I kind of assumed narrator would be okay. I mean, I got sci-fi. I have to establish like what the world is.
Can we start off by talking about the fact that you didn't really know the full like you didn't even understand the elements that you've been given. Like you didn't fully understand viewpoint, voyage and return.
See, like in my head, I understood them all.
You understood the basic meaning of the words.
Correct. Yes.
Just you didn't look into the in-depth.
I looked
stuff.
up viewpoint at one point. It gave me like nothing online, so
True.
I determined that
viewpoint isn't a typical screenplay format. About the only one that's really been prominently done was Oppenheimer
yeah.
recently. I tried to explain it to you, I think.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I met it besides the narrator. The narrator was the only thing.
And you did something extra that you didn't necessarily need to do with the actions and stuff.
Because I made everything in the first person.
Yeah.
I messed up my tenses now and then for
that happens. Excuse me. That happens in writing.
Yeah.
All of your before you didn't like all your mistakes are pretty typical like early writer mistakes.
Right.
Like, yours is not as bad as you think it is. It's just a very early it shows your writing
draft.
Experience.
Yes. Not much experience.
The other thing was that it was supposed to be a rough draft.
Yes, it was a rough draft. These were in no means final drafts. We like open and we have kind of like myself, our protagonist, who's like the first mate on this ship. And it's kind of him and the captain playing chess. And we find out that they are like Irish people, all left Earth, 325 years in the future.
Not a comedy, by the way.
No,
he says it's not a comedy.
It's not a comedy. This is just establishing what has happened in the world and what we are trying to do. Irish people all left Earth because of another famine. And then some freighters going by a solar system, and he sees a potato in space. And we determine that Irish people must be there because we found a potato in space.
I laughed so hard at when I read your narration.
You laugh at the narration, and then you laugh at nothing else in the screenplay because nothing else is comedic.
I love the line, "The world woke up to an empty Ireland." And I also love, where's the potato thing? Found a potato floating in space near the solar system. Like just the image of a potato floating in space. And then when you say it's not a comedy, I was like, that's all I could see.
If I had more time, I probably could have made it into a comedy. But I was not in the comedic mindset going into this. I was in the, let me just get this done. Because I thought it'd be easy too. I was like, this is going to be easy. I'm going to be able to fly.
Which was also comedic.
Comedic in a sad way. But we open up, we get introduced to all of our characters. We have like a wacky scientist who's kind of just a fun prankster.
He's kind of a psychopath.
It's just pranks. They're funny.
They are the most over the top pranks.
What do you mean?
It's kind of like, have you ever seen New Girl?
Yeah.
What's his is it Wilson? No. Is it Wilson?
Coach or Wilson?
Yeah, Wilson's. Yeah. It's like Wilson's pranking, where he's just like does the most. It's either like the subtlest thing that like doesn't have any significance at all, or it's just the most outlandish, over the top, crazy thing. That is Lonnie.
Oh, and then we also have Cerulean, who is the engineer, who's kind of like this big tough guy,
the most normal, I think, out of the lesser crew.
Yeah. Then you also the lesser crew,
the lower crew,
the lower decks. That's a Star Trek show.
Ah, I knew that.
And then there was Michael, who's like a Paul Blart-esque like security guy. Yes, an idiot, pretty much. He's pretty much an idiot. He kind of overreacts a little bit.
He pulls a gun. We're 4 pages into the screenplay.
Is this when it happens? Oh my
4 pages or no. I think it's a little bit further.
Oh no. Okay, yeah.
Because they're
the
eating.
dining room. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's not that much further in.
Yeah.
Mine is much more of like a television show screenplay.
Yours actually, like yours does very well fit a TV screenplay formatting. Maybe because you were kind of inspired by a TV show in the writing of it.
I don't know what I would have been inspired by.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's not glaringly apparent. I was like, damn, Jack really knows how to write like a sci-fi Star Trek-y screenplay. And then I kept going, I'm like, this was really, really familiar to start, really similar to Star Trek.
It's trekking the stars. Oh my God.
But yeah, where has he pulled the gun?
Yeah, so our boy Lonnie, the fun prankster,
yes,
he puts in both of Michael and Cerulean's burgers, he puts laxatives in. But we do learn that Michael, he's a slow eater, right? So that's why he doesn't like react to it as fast. But Cerulean scarfs it down. And then it was really funny because Cerulean was like, you bastard.
Yeah.
See, he's like, God damn it. I fucking knew I couldn't trust you, Lonnie. And then Cerulean rushes to the bathroom because he put laxatives in their burger.
Because he's
a prankster.
What a prankster.
What a prankster. And then Michael's like, oh, that was really funny. And then Michael draws his gun and points it at Lonnie.
Page 8. Page 8. He draws a gun on his own crewmate.
This is so much a television show. This is not a movie at all. See, if I kept going and like if I had time to finish it, I'd have to restructure so much of this.
Even I, like looking back, was like, there's a few things I'd have to restructure and extend out in depth and stuff.
Because mine is so fast paced.
I love that. Even though it's hilarious that it's an overreaction, it meets Lonnie's over the top pranking with an over the top reaction.
Yes.
They're both just extreme characters.
I was like, what's the easiest way to do this? We just have all these like kind of stereotypical like you are very much this person.
No, honestly, like yours works the best for the assignment of like, we just need to get a screenplay done, a rough draft in 48 hours.
Right.
Yours is a very much rough draft. You set up very typical stereotypes.
Yet somehow you got double my pages. I had the least amount of thought in the characters, no character development, and yet somehow you just blew me out of the water.
You had some good seeds of stuff. The dream sequence with Philip was interesting.
That was probably my favorite part
it
of the screenplay.
Gives some depth to Philip, gives him some fear and stuff. Mona, I think, is kind of an interesting captain, but also in kind of the way that, what's her face from Last Jedi? Rams the ship through.
Laura Dern.
Yeah, her character. It kind of gives her vibes of like, I'm not going to tell my crew what the hell I'm doing. I'm just going to do it.
It was very much like her trying to like get Philip ready to be captain, but it just does not like work. I don't think that well. I think her character, I would change a lot.
I don't know. I like the setup for her and Philip's dynamic a lot of like the mentor-mentee role.
Yeah. Because they would have been the last two alive had I finished.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah. But then I have like a dream sequence where kind of Philip worries about all the people and if because they talk about like, can they make it to the planet in time? Will they like, what's happening? Because they received a distress call. So they're hoping that like they will be able to save them if they really are in trouble. And then like we eventually get down to the planet. See, look how fast this all happens. Like we're
I had a character go from a typical detective to a crazed possessed man in like 30 pages.
But it works. I mean, it really works. I mean, we're like, I'm going to be 30 pages in and we're already like on the planets. I mean, mine is Voyage and Return. We're already halfway through the voyage.
Yeah. Cause again,
once again, I don't know.
You still could have made it work, but Voyage and Return, is actually kind of supposed to be like a Wizard of Oz or
Right.
like Disney's Strange Worlds, where they go to this crazy strange world, this outlandish place, and it's like exciting and thrilling at first, but then
Strange New Worlds. It's another Star Trek show.
Oh
Let you know.
yeah. Anyways, they go to this planet and it's like too good to be true, and then they find out, yeah, it is too good to be true, and then they try to leave, and they either make it out alive just barely and for good reason, or they leave and they actually left behind something that they loved, and the whole time like it was actually a really nice thing that they had, and they're sad they missed it. And you could have potentially like
Mine's just like Alien, kind of.
it does have some Alien vibes, yes. Yeah, yours works exactly the way that it's supposed to. It's just rough.
Yeah,
it's raw.
Thanks. Yeah, it's rough, I guess.
It's a rough draft, is what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Because you could have. I mean, you did have some issues with how you were setting up your antagonist. I think in some of the logical steps that were being taken by the crew. They were.
See, what's the end? Like, I've seen so many Star Trek TV shows to where like, hey, this might happen. You might just have some characters kind of dumb.
They were very. I mean, you had to have the antagonist win, so I guess it makes sense that the crew's dumb.
Antagonist win kind of made me had to get them on the
ship. You
ship.
got some very rough restrictions. Antagonist wins, viewpoint.
It sucked. It really did. I just wanted to be on a boat in the ocean and just have like a cool thing with my crew. It's not the same thing.
In space.
There's no wind whipping in your face.
You get the stars out your window.
They get stars up in the sky on the ocean.
That's actually a very good point. They get the cold vacuum that is space. If they drift out, they die.
Oh, I had a great line I was going to use to where I was like, which I never got. I was never going to be able to use it, unfortunately, because I switched it. But I was going to use a line where it was like, "It's always night in space," and because I thought that was such a good line, but I was never going to be able to use it because I switched and I wasn't going to have like a starship battle anymore.
Also, your storyboard, and we haven't talked about this yet. Totally thought that your monster was just a giant monster that floated through space, but in the way that your storyboard.
Well, because you only saw the ending. He saw like the finished storyboard.
Yeah,
you didn't.
I didn't see the video process.
Yeah,
but don't know how much of that will show because there's 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, it's kind of me being insane for like 20 minutes.
You were just having a grand time.
I was
You were drawing pictures, making sound effects.
20 minutes. I drew a storyboard when I could have been writing.
Honestly, it's another typical early writer thing. You escape into the preparation work because you know how tough the writing is.
Yeah. And I did not do enough preparation work for this at all.
I don't think it was the preparation. I think you just needed to write. Again, you have a pretty good rough draft going. It's just, it's rough. It's a rough draft.
Yeah, a rough draft. Yes. Yeah. And then they bring these they find the planet's empty. And there's only a few people. One person dies while like his last breath is like, "Don't trust anybody. There are monsters everywhere."
Trusted people.
And then they immediately bring the two onto the ship.
Yep. And then
because
the one guy
didn't have time to tell them.
And then they bring him on the ship, and the first one that wakes up says, "Hey, trust me. Just wait till this guy wakes up. He'll back my story." And they're like, "Okay."
Yeah. It made sense in the moment. I did at like 10 o'clock. I did pour myself a heavy drink because I thought that would like help me kind of figure things out, and it did the exact opposite.
You know what helps logical thinking? Alcohol.
Yes. I would never do that again. That's for sure. But so then they start talking to these people, and they find out like the planet was abandoned and people started disappearing, and there were monsters, huge beasts roaming the streets. And it kind of just, I ended, and that's kind of where I got a text from Alex, and we started talking about like, hey, I'm fucked,
Yeah.
I still, up to like an hour before this, I was like, I might be able to finish. I still had that like super stupid confidence of like, I could pump out 70 pages.
I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't have texted you to see where you were at, if we would have just both kept trucking along.
Oh, man.
Do you think I would have?
You probably would have finished.
I may have
You would
finished.
have barely gotten
because
there.
I wouldn't have, because one of the things that slowed me down after I texted Jack, because we were still kind of planning on finishing out just to see.
Yeah.
But what ended up stopping me from writing more was that I had issues with the SIM card in my phone.
Right.
And that took me like an hour and a half to figure out, which was like all my time. So like if I wouldn't have had to deal with that, there's the potential I could have finished, and your overconfidence may have
cost me an entire paycheck.
But we didn't get there. We didn't get there.
Thank God.
I texted you. You conceded that you only had 35 pages.
After you constantly kind of trying to see where I was at.
I was like, he's avoiding telling me where he's at. So either he has way more than I do or not as much as I think he has.
Oh, yeah. It so poorly the second day. It just went so bad.
Which was your full day of writing?
A full day of writing. I can only get like 25 pages.
Well, I mean, like your worst day was your full day where you actually had, like the first day where you didn't really write that much. You're like, that was a great day.
I was like, this is fantastic. I'm going to be able to easily do 85 pages on the next day. I don't know where
You also didn't work Saturday night when we started at midnight.
I also had a busy day Saturday, though, so I didn't get to do a ton.
Yeah, but we started at midnight.
Yeah, I went to bed at midnight, but then I slept for like 13 hours.
But what I'm saying is, like, I was still working at midnight. Like, all your opportunities to, like, get out ahead of me.
I just didn't take any of them. I was so confident that I would be able to easily crank this out that I won't start till the next day. You know what? I'm going to watch Frasier tonight.
I really, like... When we decided to start at midnight, I was like, oh, man, that means that he's going to be able to start, like, while I'm at work. I was like, man, he's going to have such a good head start. He's probably going to work all night on this thing. Like, it's like, Jack's just going to spend all night working on this thing, going to work the next day, having done so much.
You're
everything. I fed into your overconfidence. I had complete faith in you. It drove me to write more because I thought you were doing so well.
Little did he know.
Also, even with just the whole idea of this in the first place, was kind of, like I understood. I was like, screenwriting is a pretty difficult process.
I know that now.
I was like, I thought maybe. I was like 48 hours. I think I had seen a YouTube video. It may have been 72 hours instead of 48 that the guy did it. But a guy wrote a rough draft. He was like, it's not very good, but it's a rough draft.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. I love that he was able to do that. And I was like, okay, well, if one person is able to do that, then it's possible to do that. And I was like, I've many homework assignments in college. Like I went to school and worked full time. Like I've dealt with deadlines
procrastination,
procrastination, all that. And you just kill yourself and you get it done.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way if we put this paycheck on the line, we don't just murder ourselves to finish.
Exactly.
Like we'll still finish. We might hate ourselves.
Right.
But we'll definitely finish. There's no way. And then when
you really would have. You really would have.
I don't know. There's potential. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was going to finish this thing because that would have required me to get 25 pages done. We're over 25 because I wasn't even at 70. I was at 66.
Yeah.
And that would have required me to do almost 30 pages in 2 hours. And I had done 66 in 16 hours. So not quite correlating there. I mean, it does kind of get easier. Like I was able to write more and more the more I went.
Mine got harder and harder
because I had more of an idea where I was going. Where in the beginning I was kind of like, what's going on?
Right.
And filling it out. But if we look at the criteria here for you, is it finished? No, just like mine.
Yeah.
So
less finished than yours.
Paycheck, but we're not doing paychecks because we're wimps. How well does it meet all the criteria? Kind of. You had the antagonist.
Antagonist was going to win.
You hit sci-fi. Very sci-fi. That was the one that you hit the most, I think. Yeah. Sci-fi. Very in genre. Voyage and Return, you kind of misinterpreted a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, if you wouldn't have told me what your end goal was.
It was literally a voyage.
All you would have had to do to tweak to fit that is just stayed on the Irish planet longer. And there was a way for it to work because you could have had the monsters.
I could have had them like sabotage the ship, and they would have been stuck on the planet for a while.
What I'm
also.
saying, yeah, they could have done that too. Didn't even think about that. But like, you kind of had it to where they had the ability to impersonate. So if you would have just had them running society and just had it like be this glamorous society, that could have very easily fit Voyage and Return, because it wouldn't have been all right after all.
I didn't even think about that, but it is a really good idea too.
And then Viewpoint, you kind of had no narration unless it's him.
Besides the narrative, it could be him. It could be him.
And then. Which again, you could add the twist like all along, like he was one of the things
he was
in the end.
Well, we could have. He's the
antagonist.
He's the Irish Jesus. He could.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes,
Where are you
it's
going
forming.
right now? I don't know what's happening. All right, and then yeah, with the Viewpoint, you did have Philip in every scene.
Yes.
So that was important. You kind of had it from his perspective, but you don't want to do it with the first person action.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was just like, I don't know if this is supposed to be like this or not. It's just better to play it safe because I can still give directions as needed. But
and then how good is it?
Well, I can say it. You could be a little bit more like.
I've been very supportive, Jack.
Yeah, it's not great. It's really not.
It's very much a Star Trek episode.
It is very much an episode of like a lower Star Trek.
Personally, I feel like if you would have leaned more into the comedy, this would have been amazing.
It would have worked a lot better if I leaned into more like, hey, the Irish people left. This is really funny. We found a potato in space.
And you were like, no, this is serious. You had a guy putting laxatives in their food, and you're like, no, this is serious. I could not believe it when you told me that this wasn't a comedy.
Yeah.
And that you were like, no, this wasn't supposed to be a comedy. I was like, really? It seemed like you were trying for a comedy.
It's just happens to be that like this is what happens in the future. It's not funny. Irish people left. We miss them.
Come back. That was the other thing. I was like, why do they care so much that the Irish left? Why are they going out to find the Irish people?
It says they're going to search for their fellow planet men. Instead of countrymen, it's their planet men.
Mm. They're just curious. They're like, hey, whatever happened to those Irish folk? You remember those Irish guys?
Whatever happened to them? Maybe they missed the Irish whiskey.
300 and it's just now hitting me. 325 years that they've been gone.
Yeah.
That is so long for them to be gone.
That's generations. Nobody alive has ever seen an Irish person.
How do they even still know about Irish people? How do they know that the potato...
History books.
How do they know that the potato is an indication of the Irish...
Because everybody has that stereotypical Irish person. That's all they think of in the future because they don't know any of them.
Also, the fact that it's been 325 years and it just so happens that they're going at the time that the distress signal is being sent out.
I know, yeah. I mean, hey, like...
What if the potato was a distress signal?
Like that was the beacon?
Yes, they threw a potato. They had somebody who's like super, like the best shot putter that they have on their planet. The best guy at shot putting just shot puts the potato into space, just soars all the way to Earth.
Oh my God. It like causes this like huge like an asteroid that like impacts the Earth with like such force. Maybe they declare war on Earth and the Earth like just demolishes.
It's not even an asteroid. It's just the potato. It just flies through space, flies through the atmosphere, and then hits somebody in the head. And it's just got like a note pinned into it that says "Help."
Oh,
yeah. No, it was fun. There was a fun side to this horrible decision we made. Yet again, we tortured ourselves.
Boy, this was three times in a row. Who would have thought?
Yeah, and this one was a worse situation, a worse feeling.
Yes,
like the other two, like the first one wasn't the worst. You know, like I really didn't like having to chug wine.
Yeah,
but that's never fun. But and then being drunk at like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that wasn't as fun
in the afternoon with nothing else to do for the day. That was interesting. And then. obviously the period
Period
simulator.
simulator.
But this one was this was like stressful.
This was like mentally stressful.
Interrupted our lives.
Yeah.
Like I have still not adjusted to my day to day since we went through this.
I literally am thinking about my screenplay like almost every day now. Like it's never.
Oh, I didn't talk about like when I was on the caffeine, and I got done at 1:30 in the morning, and I was like, I realized I was like, oh shit, I got to get up at like 7:30 for this plumber to come over, and so I was like, I need to go to bed, but I was like, no, I've got this trash that's like overfilled and like smells, and it's like the plumber's coming over. I don't want to have that there, so I got to take this trash out, and I'm again on this caffeine. Have been in the zone on the screenplay, and I go to walk down the stairs of my apartment and the lights are off, and I'm like seeing things in the dark, and I'm like, oh my god, what's down there? I immediately flip the light on, and I'm just like looking around, and it feels like Billy's about ready to just pop out on me. Like I was scared Billy was gonna kill me. Like I was just so heightened in sense and in this like fever dream. It was the most surreal feeling.
I think you need to lay off the caffeine.
Yeah, no, caffeine and me do not vibe.
Every time you have caffeine, you're always like, just like, oh my god, you just go insane every time you have caffeine.
Caffeine is not for me.
Well, what do we learn, Alex?
What do we ever learn, Jack? Pain, and more pain. Plans for the next episode, probably going to be way more laid back.
Yes.
Very
the next
chill.
episode is going to be a very chill episode. We're not going to challenge ourselves with some god-awful thing.
Yeah, as we ramp up into probably some even more intense challenges.
Yeah, we've got some fun stuff down the pipe. Should be good.
Having fun.
Yeah, having fun.
That's what's important.
And this was fun. Like,
yes.
As stressful and as awful as it was really fun to like write a screenplay in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, and I have something I really, really love and could potentially develop into something solid in the future. We'll see.
And I have an episode I can send into Paramount for a Star Trek episode.
Yeah. And they'll be like, hey, haven't we done this episode before?
Like,
yeah, but there's Irish people. They left Earth. And a potato.
I'm just in a boardroom like, guys, no, they left her.
And somebody's like, that's really funny. And everybody starts laughing. And you're just like,
it's not funny.
Again, you are Billy, man.
It's an unjust world.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Hey, guys. So we realized that we forgot a few things in our outro.
Yeah. Bad podcasters, you know?
Yeah, we're not doing real well. So we got our screenplay links down below if you want to take a look and read those. And we also have a link to vote on them for whose was better.
I think we know who the answer is going to... See, even though mine is only 35 pages, I feel like mine was superior.
Your 35 pages are a lot more solid than my 66.
I would agree.
Yeah. And we're also going to have some extra footage. This one was very long.
Yes.
Not expecting to be so long. So some extra footage that we took while doing the screenplay process. Might put a little bit of that out on the channel. So look forward to that.
Yeah, it's like we said in the video, it would be in between, but we just had so much footage. Mainly it was me. I had a lot of footage, but it'll be up on the channel at some point.
And then the last thing we have is just that we wanted to make it known that we support the screenwriter strikes.
Yeah.
We hope that things turn out for the best for them. We definitely don't want AI screenwriters. No good. No bueno. You could end up with some real rough stuff, a lot worse than what we put it together in 48 hours.
Yes.
So, yeah, look forward to that.
Right.
See you later.
What was that? What would
Because I said, look.
What was that?
I said, look forward to that. And I'm like, what the fuck am I talking about? And do I look forward to the AI screenwriters? Is that... I was looking to see if you caught it, but then I was like, he has no fucking idea what just happened. So I'm like, shit, gotta clean this up real quick. We're good.